What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's developer update. Today is December 5th, 2021. On my side this week, I'm still waiting for ACRA to clear our paperwork in Singapore. We do have a couple of things lined up where once that bottleneck clears, we do have a couple of things we can put in motion. Hopefully next week I'll have better news, but for now we're still kind of in a holding pattern. This week's update starts with pragmaxim. They are shifting how wallets digest and cache data. That's something that should create some optimizations, but is going to need some work. Ilya has been working on the Ergo Explorer. Created a concise mode to get transactions by address. He's also working on a proposal that's going to be released soon, and has been playing with an analytics service for the ErgoDex. Pragmaxim and Kushti continue their talk about how to get the node to work with the mempool directly, which should simplify things a little bit. Morphic this week upgraded Sigma State Interpreter, which is part of ScoreX, and he's still working towards the activation of the node client version 5. We should see some more testing and details soon. Please tune into that, and I think you'll have a better understanding of what kind of performance improvements we'll be seeing and how to support that. Now, we are still interviewing candidates, Scala developers, Rust developers. We still have open bounties. That's something that we're actively looking to grow in, so if you have that skill set, please reach out on our Discord. Looks like this next week we're going to see a new version of the app kit, and hopefully we'll get that documentation regarding 5.0. Anon Burr is our developer that's working with ErgoDex. Right now he is working on Yoroi's backend to try to make some changes and optimize how yoroi is working. That's something that this week we had a meeting with the ErgoTeam, and moving to the end of this year and into next year, we're going to put a plan together to make the yoroi experience a lot better for you guys. Hopefully both on the UI side with some new NFT galleries and multi-send transactions. So that's something that give us a little bit of time. I'd like to see the community be happy with that product. And we do have other wallets that are in development as well, but Ergo has been a good partner for us, so I'd like to continue that relationship, and hopefully as we move into 2022 we'll get some more joint R&D where we'll collaborate and see what kind of new frameworks we can build. Ladopixel is the creator of ErgoTutorials.com. Looks like we have some new tutorials for the community. Looks like we have some in Portuguese and German. So if that's your language set, please check it out, especially new users. I can't say how valuable that is. Just to give people that are new to our ecosystem, kind of a helping hand as they figure out how Ergo works, how different dApps work. Once you're in the crypto space for a bit, it kind of becomes second nature, but there is a certain barrier to entry that new actors really need assistance with. So seeing that kind of community support, in my mind, is just lovely, wonderful. So I always appreciate seeing that from Lado. Great job. We have 2 mini dApps that are working with the yoroi connector. One of them is a giveaway dApp, and the other can send several NFTs simultaneously. It looks like they're still kind of in motion. But once they're on GitHub, everyone can look at them, review them, and maybe integrate that into some of what people are building. Next, we hear from Frosty. That is a group that is working with wrapping Bitcoin, hopefully onto the Ergo network and the Cardano network. It looks like they're onboarding engineers and starting to get kind of their framework resources together to try to put that in motion. It's exciting to see. They're testing smart contracts at the moment. Looks like there's a technical update that dropped this week, so please check that out. Once that progresses a little bit further, I hope to see some, open code, dive into it, and figure out what they're doing. Greenhat has been working with the networking layer for P2P. The long-term goal right now is to create the framework and implement a SPV client that runs on NepoPals. That's actually a pretty big deal. You can go back and watch videos of Alex from 2019, and he was talking about how SPV clients on Ergo could offer a unique user experience and really assist people that have connectivity issues. Having kind of the light node offers some pretty big advantages. One of these days, I'd like to get him on video and pick his brain about that so the community can kind of understand the long-term vision. Next, we have MHS Sam. He is working on Raffle. It looks like the UI is already live. The light mode and dark mode, I'm a fan of the dark mode. They did a good job with that. Regarding bridges, let's see. So basically what he's saying here is that we initially built bridge to waves that we ended up kind of scrapping and recycling. Now, the good news is a lot of that code we were able to reuse for the wormhole implementation, but it looks like that initial design didn't really cut it. So I'm actually quite excited to see wormhole progress. That's going to bring USDT onto the Ergo ecosystem from Solana, and I think that's going to ideally in time lead to some blue chip tokens that have more liquidity depth on Solana, which will help us build out kind of the liquidity in our ecosystem, and will give ErgoDex some assets to play with, and hopefully other decks come along as well. I think that seeing ErgoDex is great, but ideally we're going to have multiple dexes so traders can play with price differences and kind of let's just say make the market more efficient. Whenever there's a price difference, it allows an arbitrage opportunity and across a market that does stabilize pricing. So only having one dex initially is a great thing because it's growth, but ideally I would like to see ecosystem that encourages trade and as a result is a little bit more efficient. And I've heard that there are some projects in early stages of development, so that's something to track and watch. Raffle is working on its white paper and tokenomics. That's something ideally we'll see soon. I actually have been talking with MHS a little bit about that, and I think that the path and use case is kind of cool, so I'm excited to see that come out. Next we hear from scalahub. It looks like he has completed the Dexy contracts and they are ready for testing and review. I imagine we'll need some backend and front end, and maybe we'll see Dexy live on the Ergo ecosystem in the near future. That'd be awesome. Looks like he's reviewing the staking solution for the mixer. That's another thing that I know the community has really been looking forward to. And one unique thing about that particular dApp is as we get new tokens into the ecosystem, they are going to benefit from that dApp's privacy, let's say, empowerment. So you may have mixable USDT, mixable Bitcoin, mixable Ethereum tokens. Basically whatever comes into Ergo, that dApp has the ability to support. So I think that may be a use case for some people. Now, one exciting thing is I know post the Dexy contracts, scalahub is going to be focusing on layer 2 optimizations. Ergo Meta is a research project that Kushti has been working on since June. I know him and scalahub have been kind of back and forth reviewing different papers, different existing solutions, looking at trade-offs, looking at where certain frameworks kind of make sense and where they don't. So as we move past the Dexy contracts and get into layer 2, that opens up a big possibility. I'm really excited to see what they come up with. So next we hear from Kushti. We have quite a bit of work being done on the Ergo node. On his side, he's got quite a few different polls that he pulled into our code base. It looks like he's reviewed the upgrade to ScoreX and has merged it into 4.0.17, our new reference client. He also made some new proposal on the Ergo forum. I would recommend to everyone check that out and vote. That's something that has pretty big consequences, pretty big change for us. I spoke about that a little bit with Dan on the weekly AMA. But please hop on to Ergo forum and let's try to get some sort of consensus, what would be best for the network. Next we hear from Haley. Looks like there's a game in development. It's without a backend, but smart contracts are in development. That's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited to see what that's like. I'm going to leave that open and see where we land next week. Next we hear from HazeyOneKenobi. Says we need a usable light wallet for higher adoption. I agree completely. That's something that that's a part of why we had a meeting with Ergo to try to get yoroi into a more user-friendly place. And we also do have some community wallets that are in development, but that's something that I would say is definitely a focal point that we need to put time, resources into, that would really help with the usability of the Ergo ecosystem. Next we hear from Mr. Stahfelge. Those of you that didn't see this week, we saw a screenshot of the iOS wallet that's been in development. It looks like the closed beta is going pretty well. As we transition to a open beta, I would recommend those of you in the ecosystem that have coins that aren't really monetized, download the application on your iOS device and play with it. Let us know how it works. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like us to try to build into it. Ideally, we're going to build, as he's talking about at the end of his submission, is a plugin system that dApps can use to pull dApps into wallets. That's something that's becoming increasingly popular and just gives a nice user experience. It does look like I skipped Alex talking about Dark Fund Zero. We do have some community whales that do offer grants to developers. So if you have an idea, please let us know. Please apply. We do have community funding that's available that can kind of help seed new ideas in our ecosystem. So if you have something that you feel is worthy of that, let us know. Next, we hear from Anon 2020S, who is the main developer of the Ergo mixer. Looks like he's reviewing the tokenization ideas of the mixer to see what makes sense. It's one of those things where you can build a lot of ideas in your head, but then when you get into the contracts, especially with the mixer, we need to make sure that we don't alter any of the security aspects of how the mixer works, functions. So modifying that, it may take a lot of work, and so that may be something that needs to be taken into account as that dApp is tokenized. Let's see. Next we hear from LDG. Not really a dev yet. Made some diagrams for FlowCards last week. That's great to see. I did see that later on in the update, we are thinking about building towards Marlowe-like interface. Those of you that don't know, it's a visual tooling for smart contracts that Cardano came out with, which it's quite a nice little setup, to be honest. It kind of gives people that don't have the ability to code to visually see and kind of play with putting together smart contracts. I would love to see that on Ergo. That's something that I actually talked to Alex about quite a long time ago, but it looks like the community's on it. That's wonderful. Next we hear from GetBlock. Those of you that don't know, GetBlock is kind of the iteration of smart pool concept, where users have the ability to mine via smart contract and displace large mining pools. I'm a big fan of the concept. I like the idea of actors working together and not having a middleman taking a cut. If you follow their update on Stratton, they are definitely doing something special here. So keep an eye on them. If you're a small miner, please consider sending some of your hash rate their way. I'm really happy to see the community mining pools. We also have Enigma, which is another smaller community-oriented mining pool. And it's same story. You just disintermediate the big guys. A lot of those big pools, they take a tremendous amount of value kind of out of ecosystems over the aggregate. And so if there's a way to, let's say, distribute that to the actual actors within the network, I would love to see that. It looks like Luvatra is working on withdrawal address functionality for the tip bot on Twitter. I think that's probably going to be one of the more exciting tip bots. The tip bot on Reddit is funny. There's a lot of little tokens that are being created and distributed, more than I can even track, to be honest. We did have some additional scammers, with NFTs. He created a copy checker, and it looks like some of the NFTs are slipping past that, so looks like there's some more work being done. If you're copying NFTs, I don't know. My opinion, that's a low class of criminal. Steal some diamonds or something, NFT thief. Pretty wild. But, those kind of actors exist. All we can do is try to create tools to track that and alert users that, hey, this is not what it appears to be. And so big thanks to those of you in the ecosystem that are working on providing that kind of tooling. Next, we get into Blockly. Seeing Ergoscript on Blockly would be a big step forward. UTXO scripts are generally pretty logical conjectures, so I do think it would be a great tool for onboarding new developers and getting people a little bit more familiar with Ergoscript. Next, we heard from NoahErgo. Sigmaverse is still getting some new tabs, getting some new projects on board. I love seeing that kind of ecosystem growth. He proposes putting a front-end bounty on Sigmaverse. I think that would be a good idea. We did also bring Anastasia on board, and so having her as a point of contact for people that are building tooling and dApps in the ecosystem is a good fit to where I think she could probably facilitate new projects, new listings on that application. So we hear more from Frosty about formal research, publishing findings, and getting a white paper on board. That's wonderful to see. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm excited to track it. Once there's open code, that's kind of the standard I love to see, and then you can have community support and dev share come on board. So that's something I'm always going to push for. Next, we hear from Crypto Cream. He brings up an interesting point. I've actually talked with Crypto Cream about this. Basically, creating an Ergo token verification standard. Those of you that have been in crypto for a while may remember there was a guy on the Ethereum platform, I believe it was Crypto Asian, that introduced a concept called proof of development or proof of dev, where he was an independent developer. He would dive into projects, code, give them kind of feedback, and provide assurance. It's too easy in cryptos, in the crypto space, to see projects that come to market with, a great idea, a white paper, and then they take people's money and run, right? It's kind of sad. I think that especially as we have ErgoPad, that dApp in development, as we have ErgoDex, it's something that as a community we need to have a mature conversation about. How do we create assurances to where we don't become the next platform that's full of just garbage tokens that really have no tech behind them? So I think having a Ergo token verification standard is a really valuable thing to move towards that type of community in-house. I don't want to say policing, but just creating standards to where you have users that can have a sense of understanding of what's being built, or is anything being built in some cases. So I'm a big fan of creating independent auditors, especially as we get more educational tools out. We do have some fundraising mechanisms like Raffle, and hopefully in the future we'll have ErgoTeam, joint spending tools. And I think that plugs into that concept really well of getting auditors that are independent, that can review code, that can help give feedback, and in the case of legitimate projects, guidance. I would say ideally having a couple of them, and maybe even having some sort of mechanism where you see Crypto Cream's profile picture, having some mechanism of having that displayed even on a Dex or a launch pad to where users can see that and say, okay, well, an independent auditor has looked at this and that kind of gives a certain level of assurance. It looks like he's also creating a tool to help catch scammers lurking on various channels. Looks like that's still top secret. But yeah, if you're in social channels, please remember, nobody's ever going to ask for your seed phrase. That usually, from what I've seen anyway, that's like, they'll say, oh, I hear you're having a problem, and they'll send you a form, and then question 8 is like, give us your seed phrase. And I guess it's one of those things that they try to distract you with the first 7 questions. Please don't fall for that. Nobody's going to ask for your seed phrase. Well, I guess scammers will. Don't give it to them. All right, now we get into ErgoPad. Actually, they had a AMA this week. I think it's coming out on their Medium. I did ask one question. I signed on a little bit late, so I missed the first part. They're working on their website. Looks like they are testing sales contracts and the web interface and playing with Unreal's assembler. Please check out their AMA. I know that Alex has been talking with their team and encouraging them to open source everything, and they're committed to that. And that's something I appreciate. If you are going to build in a decentralized ecosystem, having some kind of community standard really should start with open code. I know that that's becoming less and less popular, but I do think that the mind share that it creates and the assurance to people that are putting their hard-earned money into things really needs to be respected. It's too many cash grabs in this space. Let's see. The next one is from abchris. Looks like we have some additional tools that have been added to ErgoWatch. ErgoWatch is really a nice website. I'm really a fan of what they're putting together. It is something that, over time I could see growing into something like Glassnode on the Ethereum network, which, that kind of tooling just is valuable for people to watch the network, see what's happening. I like it. Let's see. Yeah, the ErgoLend is also doing a community educational course they're calling ErgoLearn. Chris Ray is helping out with that. Please check that out if you're interested. I believe they're going to start at a pretty basic level. So even if you're not really a developer, but you're interested in learning about UTXO, smart contracts, how they work, that may be a great reference and resource for you to learn. Let's see. Quokka came on. Yeah. Ergo on-train metrics. ErgoWatch is a really neat application. I'm really happy to see what you guys are doing. It's awesome. All right, and we end with Unreal. Looks like he's working with the ErgoTree serializer and reviewing the staking solution. It looks like he's also finalizing some new features into ErgoTeam, which make it more useful for everyone. That's wonderful. And he's thinking about doing some research on discovering new possibilities with Ergoscript, using the newly found feature of providing spent boxes as proof. That's interesting. Looks like he's also putting together a team to work on the auction house, so he can do some higher level stuff. That's great. Unreal's been a huge resource in putting together the Ergo ecosystem. And it looks like that pretty much wraps up this week's developer update. So stay busy, guys. nice to see everything coming together. I think we have a lot here. Looking forward to talking to everybody next week. Have a good one.